Man, I wish I would have been live when you said that.
Oh, want me to say it again?
Sure.
We can easily bring it back into the conversation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can use all the, good publicity I can get.
Well, I was impressed with your art too. I mean, you're quite multi-talented.
I enjoy painting.
Do you spend most of your time painting, or do you art, or do you kind of balance it, or?
Seems like there's kind of seasons, So right now I still, get an hour of practice in the evening, but mostly during the day, when I'm not working, I'm, painting or drawing.
Oh, okay.
And then I don't know, that'll probably flip over, in 6-8 months, something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to Rapid Art. With me today is Charlotte Dougherty.
Mm-hmm.
What did I do? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, did okay.
Charlotte was born in Seattle and attended the University of Washington. After graduating, her career opened up the opportunity to travel around the world, which in turn has inspired many of her stories and plays. Her work tends to focus on the comedic yet universal aspects of everyday life. Now I reside, I'm kind of converting here. I'm on the go today. So she now resides in the Black Hills of South Dakota, surrounded by the peace and natural beauty of the Black Hills. Apparently it sounds like you still have time to travel.
We do get a chance. Yeah, we do get a chance to travel. We've been able to get to Europe a couple times, and we go to Mexico pretty much at least once a year. COVID obviously has interrupted that, but yeah, always hoping to get some travel in somewhere.
Right. And I know Charlotte from, I've got a gig playing guitar down at the Vault in Spearfish, which is a new wine bar. And if anybody hasn't been down there, if you're in the area, check it out. It seems like people really like it. They
do. I love it. The music's great. The atmosphere is great. It's just a very good experience. Very cozy. In the winter, you just go down there, you have a nice drink, warm you up.
And the conversation is amazing.
Yeah. Because it's small enough that you just you don't even know these people, and you end up having great conversations. So made some friends there.
And, I had to have Charlotte on my show because I'm usually playing and I don't get a chance to chime in.
Yes, we're always interrupting him while he's playing.
All right. Well, hey, so, when did you start writing? Did you study writing in school? Is it?
I thought that was a good question because I did take English. Originally, I thought I was going to become an editor for some publishing house. This was like the dream I had. And then it just didn't work out. I think I ended up not deciding what I really wanted to do. So I dropped out, went to Europe, came home, got married in that order. No, actually, that was the first. Young and naive. We all have our stories. So anyway, then I got serious about it. Went back to school and received my degree actually in business. And I was actually able to use some writing skills in some of the jobs that I had, but seriously I didn't focus on writing for probably the first 10 or 15 years of my working career. But when I started traveling, a lot of the things I encountered, particularly the international travel, inspired me a lot. Because they always sent me to, I was sent to Egypt, which was an adventure in itself, the Philippines. I never seemed to go. I always thought, this would be a great job. They'll send me to Paris. Never made it to Paris. Always seemed to get an adventure, getting stuck somewhere or having a problem somewhere. But it inspired me. So then combined with I was and still am a big reader, which I think makes a big difference for anyone who wants to be a writer. is because you're inspired, you develop sort of your taste in what you like in literature. And so I was doing a lot of reading at the time, and still am. But I remember I read this book that was so bad. It was some sort of mystery, and it was written by a lawyer in San Francisco. But it was so bad. And I thought, I can do better than this. And that was kind of the trigger. So I decided I was going to write, I didn't know what, but I was going to write something. And so I ended up writing a mystery. And in the process of doing that, and I'm not going to say it was particularly good, but my husband is my editor, and he's very good at that. And the first thing he said was, well, this is great, but when do you get to the murder? So, which was a good point, because I realized maybe I can write, but I need some guidance in terms of structure, plot development, that type of thing. So I ended up taking a course with the IFW, which is an institute out of Connecticut that matches you up with an author, and they work with you through, because I wasn't going to quit my job to be able to go back and try and get into some writing program, but I could, and I don't think anyone really needs to. If you have a desire to write and you have some talent and you just want to pursue it and develop whatever desire you have about it, there's a lot of opportunities in terms of, there are schools you can go to get your MFA or your writing program, but I chose this company out of Connecticut that did have, what I liked about it was that they assigned you one-on-one to an author that worked with you, and it was a 2-year program. And so we developed writing style, types of writing, so experimented with a lot of stuff. So over those 2 years, I was able to write quite a bit, and then I started putting it out. The scary part was it's so supportive to have somebody who's helping you develop your talent. And then when that program ends and you're on your own, oh my God. I mean, I have to how do I know it's ready? What am I going to do? Yeah. So you just kind of have to do that and take the plunge. So I was sending my work out. I was doing short stories, ended up getting several of them published. There was a lot of online publications. And then I was published in a couple of anthologies. And so that was, which took a long time. I think you have to develop, in probably a lot of professions, but you do have to develop a thick skin, because what they're looking for is not necessarily what you write. It doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the quality of your writing, but you don't know that in the rejection letter where they say, thank you, but no, tells you nothing. So that was a little hard to get used to. In fact, the first time one of the books anthologies accepted my writing, it was actually, I don't know, it was like my 30th rejection. I wasn't even going to open the envelope. It was my husband, Gary, who actually opened the envelope to say that it had been accepted. It's like, oh my God, it looks exactly like a rejection envelope. So you just have to keep at it. And I found that I really just enjoyed writing, and found that most of my inspiration is from everyday life, and the humor of every life, just the just life and the comedy that goes with that, whether it's a happy situation or a sad situation, you have to laugh. So I've enjoyed developing my writing, and I just seem to have a natural bent towards wanting to do humor and enjoy the quirky characters and that type of thing. And I thought when we moved out here that I was going to, write the great American novel. I would have all my time and I could dedicate it to that. But then I got hooked up with Joe Sirocco, who was the director and founder actually of the Bucket List group that used to have sponsorship out of the senior center, and he had mentioned they were looking for plays. And gee, could I write a play for them? And I had never written a play, and I thought it would. So I kind of took up the challenge, and I did The Age of Romance, which was a short play that they produced, and had a lot of fun doing it. And weirdly, as life has its twists and turns, I have been focused far more on my playwriting and have done very little in terms of my other writing. And I find actually that the playwriting, it allows me to focus on a particular sort of idea rather than having to, like in a novel where you have to, you have large themes that you're working on and developing those themes and taking it into that, length that's a novel. And I just enjoy taking something and working with the dialogue. That was one of the things I didn't think I'd be able to do is dialogue. And actually I find that I enjoy doing dialogue and can do that pretty well. So anyway, it was that experience that got me into doing the playwriting. And because the Matthews Opera House in Spearfish has a community theater, very established, some great actors. We have a lot, I mean, you've probably noticed this too, Paul, but we do have a nice community of talented artists that have either, retired here, moved here, whatever, and including yourself, obviously. And
then having the, Black Hill State here in town.
It makes a huge difference. And so they're very supportive, and they have been a venue for me for the last several years to write and have my work produced there. And I have had some published, but I haven't tried. It's like I enjoy the process of writing. I don't enjoy the process of getting everything put together to submit to contests, to submit to festivals or to agents. That's not the fun part. And I don't really need to do it. I do it once in a while. I have had some success in it, but right now I just enjoy the process. So.
Well, 30 rejection letters. I mean, that actually sounds like you had some early success. I mean, I've heard other stories of people.
Well, it wasn't, and I'm probably minimizing it. I would say it was probably over 50, but these were for small, they were short stories, not novels. I'm sure if it was novels, but the industry has changed so much. There's not as many publishers. There's not as many editors. What they're looking for seems to be a lot of the niche markets, fantasy, science fiction, that type of thing, romance. So if you're interested in those niches, you might be able to focus on that. But at the time, I was sending it out basically to anyone who was open to open solicitations. And so that did take a lot. I mean, that's a lot of work, and it took time. And I suppose if I was more pinpoint in terms of researching exactly the ones that would be interested in the type of work I was doing, maybe I wouldn't have had so many rejections. But you throw it out there and see what sticks.
So you didn't have a literary agent of any kind?
No, the literary agents typically are attracted to, if you're in one of the MFA programs at one of the schools, University of Indiana is one of them, UCLA writing program, these writing programs that are very well known and have over the years produced several fine writers. And I never went that route. So they're typically, that's what they're looking for. They'll go for the cream of the crop in those type of writing programs. And so the alternative is, doing it yourself, putting it out there. If you get some interest, then getting an agent isn't a problem. But getting an agent to start out with, unless you are from one of those programs, is difficult. You can also they have a lot of seminars. And if you're a writer trying to get your work, out there and in front of authors, in front of agents, you want to go to some of those type of seminars where there'll be, and you can sign up to have them give you reviews and that type of thing. I just didn't have enough time to do that. So if I was doing this starting out much younger, maybe I would have done all those things. But right now, it's just not my focus. I enjoy what I'm doing. So.
Yeah, and you're contributing to the culture of the area. And
yeah, exactly. And I think, I think that's actually, you were playing, I would come down there and have a glass of wine in between the shows. Remember that? I was like so nervous, but they had the Matthews, they were having what they call Theater on the Run, which is a yearly, I think it's more of a fundraiser, but what they do is they choose 5 one-act plays. They're maybe 15, 20 minutes. And it's the audience that moves. So they do it downtown Spearfish, and it's a lot of fun. If you enjoy the social aspect of it, they have hors d'oeuvres and wine and stuff at each of the venues. You have the little one-act play, and then you move on. And so it's a well-attended event. It's usually sold out every year. It's limited as to the number of tickets because they have, I think it's 5 groups of 20 people moving around to each of these venues. So they're all going on at the same time. And so it's a constant moving around. And so that it is limited. Anyway, they were having their 10th anniversary, and they asked me, Max Merchant, who is the head of the theater committee, he asked me if I would write a play. He was very specific, actually, which probably helped. He wanted a mystery. I had to have a certain number of actors because they wanted to have as many people, participating because it was the anniversary. But the challenge of that was that I had to create a play that had continuity, but could not, other than the first act and the last act that would take place in the theater, the Matthews itself. I couldn't mix and match the actors. They all had to stay in their one location. So how do you have a play progress when you don't have the same actors interacting?
right.
So I was kind of in a panic mode because of what have I got myself into for few months, trying to think of how to approach it. And then it came to me how I could do that. And once that happened, it became, maybe I can't say I look back on it. It's fun. It was fun doing it then. I don't know that it was fun until I finished it,
Yeah, a lot of creative endeavors are like that.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I was able to get that completed. And luckily for us, he asked me, it was about 18 months. He gave me 18 months before we were going to open. And COVID hit during that period of time. So the anxiety was, are we even going to be able to perform it? But luckily, this was last September, October, before we had the, kind of resurgence there for a little bit. And we were able to do it. And it was so much fun. Everybody enjoyed it. And I say that afterwards because, I was down there having a glass of wine in between the acts because I was like, oh my God. But everyone had a great time. They looked back on that and they said they all really were happy. And that was that's made it all worthwhile, was being able to do that. So.
So when you're writing, what is your process? Do you, if you're not in a situation like that where you're given certain parameters, how do you go about creating a script?
Well,
What's
for me,
first step.
Well, for me, the inspiration can vary. I typically, and you would think, being a writer, do I keep a journal? No. And I think I ran it. I don't know who the author was, but it turned out there are several writers who don't they don't keep a journal, which made me feel good because I felt like there's something off about me if I'm not, dedicated to my journal writing.
Yeah.
And, but I don't do that. But I do get a lot of inspiration from just everyday stories that happen in my own life. I can take that, and that's what I like about it. I can take that one story and pull it out of just everyday life and kind of zero in on just an aspect of something that happened either to me or happened to people I know, or I saw it or experienced it. So that's typically where I will get my inspiration. Maybe the exception is this one play that I did, The Physics of Love, which they did perform a couple of years ago at the Matthews. And I've always been fascinated by physics, quantum physics to be specific. Do not ask me why, because I'm not a physicist. But I was always interested in the idea of quantum entanglement and how something, at a quantum level, if it changes here, if you've had another, proton that has been connected to this, you have two protons, let's say, and they at some point were connected. If this one shoots off to the other end of the universe, it doesn't make any difference. If something changes with this one, it will immediately change with that one. So that's very simple. That's about the level I know it. Anyway, that concept always just stuck with me. So I have never experienced it, but I thought it would be fun to try and take a scientific concept and put it into an everyday experience, and using that as the basis for soulmates. The idea was soulmates and how they're, is being a soulmate and comparing it to that quantum entanglement. So that was kind of a challenge, and it was kind of fun. But for the most part, the ones I do have some element of something that has happened in my life. I do belong to a playwriting group out of Rapid City, and occasionally they'll give us something, a challenge or something of an idea, and try to develop that. So, but most of it is just coming from personal experience.
All right. So it sounds like most of your work has a comedic element.
Yes.
So is the comedy sort of icing on the cake? Do you come up with a structure like, characters, develop the characters, and then does the comedy come in, sort of in the writing, like the rewriting process, or is the comedy baked in, or is it just like naturally, do you just see the comedy in these situations you create, or how does this?
Well, I think it's just that I see the comedy in some of the situations that derive from the character's response to things. So if you have, like I was doing this, I did this play called Keeping Tabs, and that was a story about a woman who was a widow, and she was lonely. And the one thing that she missed was the conversations that she would have with her husband. So she had this idea that she was going to, that keeping tabs comes from, when you go into the drugstore and you see the bulletin board or something, it seems like there's, carpenters and whatever. Occasionally,
could you repeat that? You kind of roboted for a second.
Oh, okay.
The drugstore.
Yeah, you go into the drugstore and you see the community bulletin board there, and you see all these things. And so she got this idea of putting this, looking for good conversation, blah, 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 and then tear off tab, to the number to call and stuff. And so it was kind of a poignant, I think everyone can understand the loneliness, and the way that she went about it was it was cute. I mean, her idea was get them through their stomach. So she was an award-winning baker at the local fairs and stuff. So her thing was that was her ace in the hole of, that they could guarantee to have, whatever it was she was baking. She would bring it, and part of the conversation and getting to know each other. So once you start interacting with people, you can't control the response. And so she was getting all these weird people calling and for whatever reason, one way or the other. So a little bit of it came just out of how the character developed, but I just can't think of too many things that are, and not to discount that there is tragedy in life, but life goes on. The human condition is and how you view it, whether it's a dry humor or sarcastic humor or ridiculous humor, but there is humor. And so most of that, I start out with an idea that makes me laugh, of some aspect of it has made me laugh. So that gives me the idea, or maybe just the absurdity of it, and try to work with that. And the characters seem to come out of that. I don't think, they say that humor is the hardest thing to write.
Yeah, that was. Right.
But oddly, humor is not that. I don't think you can force it. I think it has to come out of the scenario, the situation. I don't have a hard time trying to do comedy, which surprises me. But no, comedy. I don't think I'm a drop. Get them all laughing, rolling on the floor type, but it's an easy sort of going, very natural part of life type of humor. And I find that is something that I can do pretty well. I'm not sure that everyone would say that, but I like to think so. And they do laugh and they have liked them. So I like to think that, yes. So it kind of, it's a hard one to, the one thing to your question too is about the characters. And I don't know, every time I say this to a person who is not a writer, they go, well, how does this work? Because you're the writer. I don't always know what the character is going to do. So you start writing and they end up taking a left turn that I didn't see coming. And I think writers will then sort of explore that and see whether that works. So they'll try and see. But I find that to be a great aspect, whether it's playwriting or short story writing. The characters can really kind of take on a life of their own. And that's the fun part of it. You just don't know what they're going to do. You have an idea and yes, you can guide them, but I don't think you want to guide them too much. You want to see what comes out there. So I know that sounds a bit, mental, but I think it's a common experience for writers.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that from many writers.
Thank you.
And I mean, I do a little writing myself. I always kind of wondered about that until I really got into, like in the last couple of years, I kind of got into this story I've been working on. And
well, you did a graphic novel, right?
Yeah, that's kind of it started off.
Yeah, exactly.
17 pages, and I think it's gonna be about 96 by the time I'm done. Good. But I mean, it really does. It just started off with dialogue, and it's sort of like you're improvising conversation in your head. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of that, only it kind of takes over the whole shape of the world you built.
Exactly. It's very much building a world, and that's what I like about it.
And then once, there's this environment and there's, supporting characters, it seems like these people, these places sort of start interjecting themselves into, the lives of I don't know. It's an interesting process. And I'm sure and it's go ahead. Oh, sorry. Well, it does feel a little bit like going crazy at times. I mean, when it's like really, a guy's in the zone.
Well, yeah, and then everyone's like, but it's coming out of your head. Well, yeah, but so maybe it's a form of therapy. I don't know. But that's
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to come out
yeah.
of your head. You think you know, but you just don't know. And these characters, when they start, getting dimension and kind of levels and layers of personality that come out, yeah, it can take a life of its own. And I've had a lot of times had the story go in a totally different direction than I thought it would. So I'm glad you said that. I don't feel, totally wacko.
Well, I mean, if I would try to explain it to someone, it'd be kind of like, having a really great conversation with somebody that you're close to, that you've known a long time, that you trust intimately, that you can say anything to. And how when you're in a situation like that and you're talking to somebody that on that level, things can come out that you don't necessarily intend to come out, for better or for worse.
Exactly.
But because you're in a safe environment, it doesn't matter. And so that, it's creative in that kind of way.
Yeah, definitely. So
so it's not really, we're not losing our minds.
No, I think it's one of those things that keeps us from losing our minds. Actually,
yeah, it's really, a normal human thing, right?
Yeah, and writing, I think, has made me a better observer of people and situations, and it, I think, makes you just more aware. Even though writing is for the most part, it's a lonely, I guess, if you think of it, but you're not alone because you have your characters.
Right.
Which does sound weird, but you're creating this. And sometimes I know when I'm writing, and I actually kind of feel kind of bad because my husband isn't part of that world, that you're creating, and you can't talk, you may talk a character to them, but he's sort of like, yeah, okay. So it is a world you create. And sometimes I really am sad to see it end, because I finished the story. You've done what you want to do. Same thing with playwriting, for sure. You had a good time doing it. I've never found it painful. I know that there are some writers who find the process of writing to actually be hard, but they can't help themselves. I've never felt that way. I felt that it was, other than having to come up with an idea for that, play, the mystery. Once I did it, it was loads of fun. So it's just, but it is a lonely sort of occupation. And you have to be able to deal with that and be able to sort of, separate it from the discipline that comes to sitting down in front of your typewriter or your computer to write every day. Does anyone even have a typewriter anymore? I don't know.
The keyboard.
Yeah, but the keyboard. And there is a certain discipline in that, because if you tend to be a very outgoing person, yeah, that's going to be kind of a problem, I think, for a while. And I tend to, actually, I think my husband's more outgoing than me, so I don't have as much of a problem with it. But I do miss the socializing if I'm in it for too long, too intense. You have to go out there and go over to the vault and have a drink and listen to ball.
Right. And I think sometimes you need to get out and see the world a little bit.
Well, you probably feel the same way when you do your painting. You're in your world and doing that, and the hours go by and you don't even notice. And you have, you're married and you kind of want to interact with your spouse once in a while. So, you just try to balance it the best you can.
Right. Well, hey, I think thanks for visiting. Is there anything? It sounds like you have another work that's being produced by the Matthews soon.
Yes, we're doing the end of May. Actually, what they're going to do is create sort of this, what they call page to stage, and it is sort of an outcrop from the Reader's Theater. Reader's Theater, we don't do a stage production. We do the dramatic reading. the nice thing about that is the actors don't have to spend a lot of time memorizing, so it's much less in terms of rehearsals. So they're going to do 4 of those the month of May, and they will be producing one of mine at the end of the last weekend, which is over Memorial Day. So I don't know, is anyone going to be around? But it is the first public reading, actually, of this play. And hopefully the actors will see it as an opportunity, because the one thing about mine is they'll help actually create the characters, bring them to life. The other ones are already produced and published plays. Mine is not. I'm in the process. I've completed it. I've done private readings. Now this will be the first public reading. And if I have some, that will help me. It's really for me, although they insist that, oh, don't worry about it. We'll, because all the other ones, they have to pay royalties. I'm not asking for royalties. I just want feedback. So if that goes well, then I'll be looking to have it performed fully and put it out there for contests. You typically go that way, and then maybe get an agent for it. But I'm looking forward to it. It was a lot of fun to do. It was it's actually a comedy, but it's called Dark Secrets. And it's actually was based on a situation that happened when I was working. A coworker, we had a project going on. He was going to give a status, but I had actually turned out, somebody had actually given me a status, but I hadn't had a chance to sort of sync up with him. So when we were meeting, I said, well, you don't, I was just kind of being a smart ass, I guess, but I was saying, well, I know what happened. I know what you did. I know you don't know, but I know what you did. But the funny thing was, when I said that, he looked at me. You should have seen the look in his eyes. And I'm like, what did you do? Because you could tell he wasn't thinking of what I was thinking. I was just whatever work was. I never did find out what it was that he thought I found out about, but it always stuck with me. So that's sort of the crux of the play. Is this happens that she wants to try this out as a theory, because basically everybody has a secret. And they try, and it gets them into a whole lot of problems. So anyway, it should be a good, hopefully funny. Like I said, you never know. Maybe it'll be a drama. I don't really know. It depends on how they react. So started out anyway. So that's going to be at the end of May. But actually, for anybody who's interested, I enjoy going to the Reader's Theater. Because they may not be fully acted or fully dramatized. Some they'll do a little bit. I think mine will probably be it's all about the voices. But they're a fun way to spend the afternoon. And I hope that they do continue that, because they were talking about doing it. Maybe it'll be a yearly event in May at the Opera House. So it would be fun. Oh, and then we have Stepping Out, which I'm actually acting in. This is something they've been trying to do for 2 years. It's a play by Richard Harris. It's a British play that they've adapted to the US, and that's going to be going on at the end, starting April 1st. So the first 2 weekends in April. So, and that's a comedy, and it's going to be a real comedy because it's supposed to have dancing, and none of us are dancers. So I'm not sure how that's going to turn out. I'm a little concerned, actually, but it's fun. You'll see the posters around town, and the posters turned out really cute. I don't know if you can see that. You probably can't see that. I did actually. No. Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice.
Yeah. It's fun. And the one in the middle, it must have taken her 10 times to get the photo, but she was the character is always chewing gum. So she finally got the bubble to right before it popped. So the person in the middle is blowing a bubble, right? And she caught it just perfectly. So anyway.
Yeah, and I'll put links and maybe a little mini calendar in the description of the video. So
oh, good. Okay. Well, this is fun.
Yeah.
I want to do it again.
Me too.
Yeah.
This was good.
Well, we'll probably see you on Saturday, actually.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. I always look forward to you guys coming out. I know Veronica does too.
Oh, yeah, and she
Very fun.
I wish she would stay there forever. She's such a sweetheart, and she's perfect. She's perfect for that job. But
Well, I know. I think a lot of the patrons come down to see her. They're not really there for the music.
well,
They just wanna
I don't
hang out
know
with
that.
Veronica.
Well, it's just it's the whole ambiance. And if it wasn't for the music, I mean, you know what it is. When you stop playing, it's like, well, Paul's done. I guess it's time to go home. So she just enhances what you bring to it, I think. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
can you hang out for a second? I'm going to end the broadcast.
Okay.
So you can say goodbye to the people.
Oh, yes. Goodbye, everybody. Hope you
Thanks for
enjoyed it.
watching.
Yes. Thank you for watching.
Hi. Well, yeah, if you could maybe just email me, like some of those dates and maybe,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
the folks you'd like to bring some attention to,
Sure.
the Readers Theater and that sort of thing.
Sure. Yes. In fact, I'm meeting the theater committee for the Matthews Meets tomorrow, and I'm going to bring up the idea of them, if you would like to have somebody from the theater on your podcast to talk about.
Yeah.
Because they do both the art aspect, they're having that going on, and they have the theater aspect. So it's really arts and theater. So I think it would be a wonderful venue for them to just, talk about what's going on and get, just information out there and get some energy going. And I think this would be a good venue. So I'll bring it up tomorrow.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I've sent emails off to them in the past. So,
yeah, and you haven't gotten any response, but I think
sounds like there's some new people down there now. So
there are. Yeah,
I might have got them just in transition too, which is always a bad time.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
approach people.
But I'll definitely bring it up.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Well, I'll let you know when I put the video out.
Okay.
So,
Okay, and I'll send you the info and get all that good stuff to you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Take
Appreciate
care.
it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.